Well, let's just start out, and we had a conversation a while ago that I thought was fantastic, and you kind of just gave a brief overview of Silicon Slopes and how you've seen things evolve over the last 10 years. And we'd like to just kind of start there and give us a little synopsis, and then we can run into a couple questions.
Well, it's been crazy to see what we all refer to as Silicon Slopes emerge. It's been fun for me to have a front row seat, literally to see how everything has been shaped since the beginning. I started my career about 35 years ago, 1991, in office brokerage, focusing on technology companies to a large degree. And looking back on the last decades, and especially the last 10 years, you look at Lehigh alone, where we're sitting here at Thanksgiving Park, all of the surrounding product, to think that millions of square feet have emerged in just the last 10, 15 years surrounding us that have created a new center of gravity for the entire Wasatch Front. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It wasn't so long ago that we'd drive up and down I-15 and it was all farmland. And it was pretty easy to be able to secure 50 to 100 acres for a campus or for a development opportunity. Now, good luck. If you want to go secure high-profile property along the Wasatch Front, it's getting virtually impossible, and there are huge barriers to entry. But so much has changed. Of course, I think Utah is the greatest place to be in the country. I think we check all the boxes. I think anyone who's starting a business in California versus Utah should be guilty of malpractice. And I think our community is just getting warmed up.
Amazing. So we all know you as like the godfather of commercial real estate, but you're also a big angel investor. You've invested in over 20 startups, which is always kind of like throwing darts at a dartboard. So what are some of the biggest wins that you've invested in, and maybe some that haven't panned out like you thought? And what do you look for in founders when you're investing?
Gosh, wins and losses in angel investing. All of you in here, being part of the Silicon Slopes community, which is the greatest, know that investing and being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. In fact, it reminds me, there's a quote I was reading this morning. I thought, if it came up, it's a great quote by Elon Musk, where he says, being an entrepreneur is like eating glass and staring into the abyss of death.
It's a great quote.
Just a little dramatic, but not so far off the mark. I would say, some of my greatest successes have been surprises. They've been deals that I've done that don't make sense on paper, but my heart drove me to invest, and I believed in the cause. One company that I invested in early on as an early angel investor was a company called Colossal Biosciences. And as one of those what I would call moonshot investments, where I developed a friendship with the CEO, believed in his vision, but it was so bold. And it was really centered around what he calls de-extinction and really bringing back the woolly mammoth and other extinct species. Is any of you familiar with Colossal Biosciences? It's on the cover of Time magazine. It's pretty incredible work with genetics advancements that they're doing. They just resurrected the dire wolf, for example, and brought forward dire wolf cubs that they were able to bring out that have been long extinct. So Colossal's one that has been an interesting and surprising, incredible result. The multiple, the return, at least on paper, has been astounding. Some of the challenges, I've invested in other passion plays that haven't worked out so well. Evermore Park was one that was inspiring but didn't end up working out, and it's a heartbreaking situation. And I would say for every success, there are 10 to 20 failures, without question, and you just have to keep going. I mean, you can't let those challenges get you down.
One of the things that people have asked, especially since they've been here today, they've came up and said, okay, are you going to talk about Skinwalker Ranch? Like, everyone's excited about Skinwalker Ranch. They'd like, yeah, hear that. So what technologies are you currently using there, and how are they advancing your research?
So Skinwalker Ranch is truly the most scientifically studied paranormal hotspot on the planet. And I've deployed now tens of millions of dollars in service to getting answers and documenting the reality of the phenomena out there. Interestingly, I think some of our greatest advancements as far as technology platforms have come in the last few months. We secured a Falcon 9 launch recently and put a satellite in orbit that is specifically tasked with monitoring Skinwalker Ranch in low Earth orbit and giving us not only some signals intelligence, but hopefully new insights into what anomalies may play into what is happening there above the property and within that region. I don't know that there's been anything like it. I mean, actually deploying a satellite in service to frontier science on this level in the private sector is unheard of. So that's one huge innovative approach that I think no one else really would have ever expected would emerge out of the Uinta Basin. And have any of you been to the Uinta Basin? Oh, you were? It's a strange place. But it's beautiful. The landscape is so diverse out there, and it's rural Utah at its best. So, yeah, I think putting a satellite in orbit and preparing for other satellite a constellation of monitoring devices sets that investigation apart. And it is science. It's technology in action. We talk about technology here in Silicon Slopes, which is the focus. And that is a very unique test bed that has been watched by the world, where we get the opportunity to, I think, deploy technologies, everything from FLIR to the latest edge processing technology and even artificial intelligence. I know everyone's talking about artificial intelligence every 5 minutes. You darn well better have a pitch that has AI integrated into it. But the truth is, we were actually integrating artificial intelligence into processing data and taking a data-driven approach, 2.5, 3 years ago, before anyone really was using ChatGPT or even knew what Grok was. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a rumor is years ago, you started a tech company. Is this factual? Because we all think real estate, Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, I've started a couple of technology companies. One was a software company. We literally did the business plan on the back of a napkin in my conference room up in Salt Lake, and it was a company we called Cypher. We developed a software algorithmic approach to noise cancellation. And if any of you are familiar with noise cancellation, it still has some problems with it. I mean, if you're on your smartphone and you dare go in the bathroom while you're still in the middle of a video conference and you flush the toilet, I don't know that it's perfect as far as the noise cancellation technology. Well, what we tried to do is enable it through a software algorithmic approach that would focus on the voice print. Everyone has a unique voice signature. I don't know if you're aware of that. Just like we all have unique fingerprints, we all have a very distinctly different voice print. Being able to lock in on that and cancel all of the other noise was a key part of our innovation. We sold that to Cirrus Logic, so a big global chip maker that is integrated in everything from iPhones to Internet of Things devices, and they've been deploying that technology there. Another innovation that's pretty cool that's Happy Valley related, for those of you who are here in Utah County, is a company called Accent that I developed with my best friend since 5th grade. So I've had the same best friend since 5th grade. His name is Chris Lee. He's a world-renowned radiation oncologist. And his father is a professor of chemistry at BYU, Dr. Milton Lee. Well, his father, who is a world expert in mass spectrometry and liquid chromatography, if anyone know what those terms are, it's really the science. It's analytical chemistry. And he had an idea in theory to be able to miniaturize, to create a miniature laboratory that would allow you to take the lab to the sample and test any liquid, whether it be on the battlefield or in any environment, and within literally minutes be able to tell you what the chemical breakdown of that was, whether someone was on meth a month ago, or if there was a toxin in a water supply, or the fidelity of any pharmaceutical drug. Anyways, we developed it in BYU's chemistry lab and went through the whole tech transfer process with BYU, and now Accend is bringing the first truly mobile solution to liquid chromatography and taking the lab to the sample, and it's true innovation. I tell everyone it's Mission Impossible meets James Bond technology for real. And I love new technology when you can actually point to something that is a new invention that is going to transform the world or completely upend old approaches to come up with new innovative answers that push our world forward. I think that's inspiring. So those are two companies that a lot of people wouldn't be aware of that I actually co-founded, provided all of the seed angel investment for up front, and I rolled the dice because I knew in both cases I would probably lose everything potentially based on the odds. Cypher was a great exit. Our investors actually got a 4x return. It wasn't a home run, but it was a double, and we all need those doubles or triples in the business, and it was something that we could be proud of. Accend, we'll see. Stay tuned. I'm excited to see the future.
So, being how you have multiple platforms, you've met with a lot of global leaders. So which tech leaders have impressed you the most, and what lessons have you taken from those interactions?
That's a hard question. I think one of the most intriguing, interesting leaders was Peter Thiel. Having dinner with Peter Thiel at his home in California and meeting with his key advisors was really a highlight. It's interesting. Love him or hate him, it's like Elon Musk, or Jeff Bezos, any major figure who has been involved. And he was the head of the PayPal mafia, for any of you who don't know. But big thinker, and I was impressed with him. I would say we have a lot of big thinkers here in Utah. I have to say, looking back decades ago, there was a young guy who was really bold. He had a company called mycomputer.com, and it transformed into Omniture, and it was Josh James and John Pastana, who deserves equal credit. John and Josh really was the one who really championed the whole Silicon Slopes branding for Utah. And I have to say, his visionary approach to really putting Utah on the map and Utah tech is in large part why we're all here today to a degree, and we have this space to be able to collaborate in. So I could go down the list, so many incredible, inspiring figures, some of which are not in technology or business. I would say some of the people that inspire me the most come from pop culture, even, from all walks of life.
Well, we know you're passionate about tech and Utah. You joined our board recently, which we're super thrilled to have you. What are you looking forward to most in the next 5 years in Utah?
I think the next wave of innovation. I think artificial intelligence, as trendy as it is to talk about and everyone's kind of getting on the bandwagon, it's the internet times 10. The transformational impact on our world and the ability for Utah to take a leadership position. We have the youngest, highly educated, multilingual workforce in the country. If we don't seize this moment to have some real iconic companies emerge from this, we suck.
Well said.
We really do. If we don't see, and I think many of you here, there may be people in this room that actually are key figures in the next 5 to 10 years that literally propel Utah forward. I truly believe that. So I think you're going to see innovation on a level that we've never seen before. It'll be interesting. I've been waiting for the next MLM to emerge, the next juice or lotion or potion, but I haven't seen that yet. They call it a business opportunity, but...
Fantastic. I've had more emails asking for as much Q&A as possible with Brandon. I know you guys all have a ton of questions. So let's open it up and get some of those questions going.
Ask me anything.
Scott, I think he's going to grab a mic. Yeah.
Is that Cynthia?
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh, I'm scared. One of our most prominent voices in the business and philanthropic community, Cynthia Gamble. I pass the conch to you.
Oh, what a pleasure there. Thank you so much. And I admire you, and I have for many, many years, Brendan. But so 35 years in business, born and raised in Utah.
Pleasant Grove, where I still live, PG.
Utah County. And when you're building your
It's
home.
America at its best.
It is. It is. So you have been an amazing spokesperson for Utah in general. I mean, up and down the Wasatch Front, but Utah County, of course, that's where your roots are.
People are more righteous in Utah County.
See, that's a good segue for my question.
I'm kidding. My people hate it. When I say.
I'm an implant, as you can hear, right? So, but I raised my family here. It was a choice that I made, my husband and I, to come and raise our children here. But there's still, even with all the innovation, all the inventions, and all the talent and expertise in the state of Utah and in our area particular, there's still probably a concept that there's a division particularly between Utah County, which you love and you're from, and the rest of the state, particularly Salt Lake County. And I know that you're going to say, because I've asked you this question before, you're going to say that there's been a lot of progress made. But I still hear, because I get out too much, perhaps, I still hear there's a certain, I don't know, sense of if you come to Utah County, you're coming to Egypt. So I just wanted to see what you think and what we can do to make that.
That's a damn good question. I actually think the answer is the Wasatch Front has become one major metroplex area. Anyone coming in from the outside has a very difficult time distinguishing between Weber, Davis, Salt Lake, or Utah County. We're all one community. And the sooner that everyone just recognizes that and we rally around that, the more we're going to be able to compete and slaughter the competing markets. Polarization is only going to, or division only handicaps us when we are competing right now in a global economy. And I think Utah is uniquely positioned because we have this Wasatch Front. How many higher education institutions are all located within a 1 hour radius? It's staggering. We have so much talent. We have so much right here accessible, and quality of life that is more accessible here than anywhere else in the country. To be able to actually land at the Salt Lake International Airport, which is one of the top hubs in the world, and within minutes be from curbside there to downtown on Main Street or at the State Capitol building. Has anyone tried to fly into Denver and get to a meeting? Why the hell Sundance is moving to Colorado? It's the most asinine decision I've ever seen. It's stupid. And it's their loss. I don't think it'll even be noticeable. It won't even be a speed bump for us. But it's unfortunate because Utah offers everything. And I think the Wasatch Front is one. It used to be when I was a kid, when Dad would say, do I need to drive you guys to the point of the mountain? It didn't mean you were going to go to Silicon Slopes. It meant you were going to jail. We were freaking terrified. Remember that, Uncle Niels? It was like, if you heard the point of the mountain, it was ominous. You were like, oh shit, Dad's going to stop the car. We better get in. We better get our act together. Now, this area is really the convergence of everything. All communities actually are converging together. And so I actually think, as much as it's fun to joke about, and I love to, because there are some demographic nuances to the Wasatch Front that I think are fun. I don't think they're negative. I think the rest of the world's laughing. They're having fun. I mean, you look at anyone watching reality TV, they're getting introduced to Utah either through Skinwalker Ranch in rural Utah or those other shows. Next question. That was a good one.
I'm Scott right here.
Gosh. Yeah. Fire away. And I'll try to get to all of you. We'll try to be fast.
First of all, I want to say thank you for all you do for the Wasatch Front.
Oh.
And I want to ask about the satellite. Are you just looking at paranormal activity on the Skinwalker Ranch, or is this something you can detect stuff all around the world?
Oh, we're tasking it to compare the ranch to other places of interest. And it's not necessarily what I would term paranormal. It's electromagnetic anomalies. I mean, I think anyone who, in talking about things that are not understood, like the paranormal, it's something that we have yet to fully be able to characterize given our current physics understanding. But it's coming. I mean, just as electricity 200 years ago was a mystery, the automobile, not so long. I mean, think of how fast things have been transformed along the Wasatch Front, not only here, but the world in just the last 100 years. And I think our understanding of consciousness and the way the world and our reality operates is going to be transformed in the future. So we're looking at other places. Next question.
You mentioned Peter Thiel, and he kind of has the famous kind of contrarian, heterodox kind of outlook. Would you be willing to share a heterodox or contrarian opinion that you have that you think is maybe something that you think is true that maybe most people don't? And I mean, of course, if you don't, or if there's anything that he shared that you thought was especially thought-provoking.
Gosh, that's a great question. I think I'm pretty contrarian a lot of the times. I like to sometimes boldly take positions that are not necessarily popular. I think, and some of them, it's funny, those things that we considered 5 years ago or 10 years ago as conspiracy theory is now conspiracy fact. I don't know if any of you have been paying attention to the news and the feed, but those things that literally you would get canceled for saying not too long ago, we're talking just a couple of years ago, you'd be canceled. Today, it's like, it's fact, it's reality. And I'd say my contrarian point of view that I take most often is to challenge authority and challenge the status quo as much as possible. I don't put a lot of faith in government. I think that we need major reform and disruption in government. And what does that have to do with Silicon Slopes? What does that have to do with business? Everything. Tax policy, health care, regulation, trade, all of it has to do with Silicon Slopes and the economy. And I want to see major disruption. I am sick of the collusion between politicians and parties that is obvious, that has been revealed. And I want to basically gut the whole system. I hope the whole system burns and is reborn. Because it's freaking corrupt. It's freaking corrupt, and guess what? We've all been so apathetic. We've all been so busy trying to focus on feeding our families, starting our businesses, raising money, trying to survive, that most of us have been like, we trust that the system, that our public officials and the system is going to work for us and is looking out for us. Well, guess what? That isn't always the case. As much as I love America, and every time I come back to the United States after traveling abroad, and believe me, Europe is the most beautiful museum in the world. And that's about all. There are no cranes on the skylines. How often do you see cranes on the skylines in Europe? Very rarely. In the United States, there is still growth, innovation. My criticism stated, I have to tell you, every time I come back to the United States, no matter where I travel to, I want to kiss the ground because I love our country. I love that the American dream is still alive, but it's dependent upon us calling BS on things that are not working and frankly not in our favor. How's that for contrarian view?
So if we're going to lean into AI, how do we avoid the inevitable enshittification?
The inevitable what?
Enshittification, to use Cory Doctorow's word.
Oh,
I mean, look at what happened with Amazon Prime, for example.
Yeah.
We were all paying for it. We were all getting our shipments. We were all getting videos. And now suddenly we're getting commercials.
absolutely. Well, it used to be, you look at streaming services. We're now like subscribed to like 10 streaming services. I feel like we're getting ripped off. Where did basic cable go where you had one subscription, you had everything? It's like the frog in the pot analogy. we all basically become complacent. We become desensitized. With artificial intelligence, it is so frontier and so Wild West right now. It's going to be the best of times and the worst of times. I don't know that it's unstoppable. Are we looking at a Cyberdyne Systems future? I pray we aren't, but if you listen to the people who've been shouting from the rooftops about it in the past few years, they're saying, yeah, be very, very cautious. The power of what is being unleashed, I don't believe we even can comprehend. And the rate of advancement every minute that we're sitting here is staggering. There was a book that I read years ago by a guy named Ray Kurzweil, futurist. Anyone familiar with Kurzweil? He was called the Edison of our age. Kurzweil talked about the singularity. The book was called The Singularity is Near. I don't know if anyone read it, but it's here. That hockey stick curve, we're living it right now. Next question.
So I've got two questions, and I'll just be brief. One thing I've noticed as I look at like Fortune 500 companies, Utah doesn't have anybody headquartered here. Yeah, yes, we have offices like Adobe and others, but are companies hesitant to move their headquarters here? Because I see a lot of companies leave California and they go to Texas, they go to Florida, but are we just not capable of having that? Do we even want that? And the other question is about the old prison site. Where do you see that developing?
The prison site?
Yeah.
Two really good questions. Why don't we see more headquarters? Why didn't we end up prevailing? And we didn't even make the top 25 list when Apple was choosing their HQ2, when they were out looking to establish a new footprint. Utah didn't even make the cut. Why? I think, number one, we don't market ourselves well enough. It goes back to Cynthia's question earlier. We're not Utah County, Salt Lake County. We're not different metros. We are one major metroplex market, and we need to emphasize the fact that recruitment and retention here and the access to talent is stronger than most other markets, and the quality of life trumps everyone else. I think we need to market ourselves better, and that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is, it's a blessing and a curse. Our founders end up selling, our companies, the Fortune 500 companies that are located here, most of them, in many cases, have entered this market through acquisition. They didn't come here and start an office organically. They acquired a Utah homegrown company, and then they grow and scale. That's not a bad thing, and we've had a lot of incredible founders that have seen liquidity events, and what have they done? They've poured it into dozens of other investments. And there's been a virtuous cycle, but the problem is, right when our companies start getting traction, in a lot of cases they get acquired by a bigger company, by a Fortune 500 company, and sometimes the ebb and flow changes. The prison site, the most strategic infill development site in the United States, is 5 minutes from where we are sitting right now. Let that sink in, and that is not hyperbole, that is not exaggeration. The most strategic infill development site is right here at the point of the mountain. It's the former prison that I was referring to earlier. That project, which is owned by the state, is being master planned that will bring millions of square feet online over the years ahead and will create a new city and center of gravity. That will help put us on the map to a large degree and turn heads nationwide and even globally, because I think a lot of companies are hesitant because they don't feel like we have enough, critical mass to draw from, to scale, and we have to, again, market the Wasatch Front better. And I think diversity always seems to come up, and I think that's changing dramatically right now before our eyes in a positive way. Next question. Fire away.
Back to the ranch. You have the buried anomaly in the mesa.
The mesa, yeah.
That you've had all sorts of problems probing. Why don't you just excavate?
Because I don't want to destroy the very thing that we want to study, that may be the mechanism behind the electromagnetic anomalies, the UFO sightings, and other high strangeness. So we've shifted into more of a medical biopsy approach, a careful archaeological excavation, biopsy type of approach, as opposed to a destructive approach that is helping us zero in on the anomaly and what really is playing out. The fact that we're extracting ceramic material, not naturally occurring ceramic material with electromagnetic properties from 400 feet within the mesa, it's stunning. Metallic, also manufactured material being extracted, and the amount of equipment malfunction. If anyone watched the most recent episode, we had tungsten carbide steel drill bits that were literally ground down and made completely ineffective. We're talking about the most powerful, the most indestructible drill bits that go through granite that have been destroyed in trying to probe the mesa to get to the answers. So, good question. Next.
Yeah, I moved here, well, rather, I escaped California about 4 years ago and brought my family here. No regrets. I love Utah. I love the mountains. There's only one thing here in Utah that we don't have that I really enjoyed in California, which is the ocean. So that said, I want to incept an investment opportunity for you, which is in artificial wave pools. And there's the technology's proven itself at this point. And these are not just wave pools; these are like legitimate waves and master plan communities that have retail and event space and $1 million homes all around them. They're building them all over the place. And I've always said, whoever builds that thing first here can just take my money every weekend.
Like a wakeboarding park right in the middle of the community, or what is it?
Yeah. These are giant pools that actually produce real barreling waves that you can ride. You can have competitions, and then they have event spaces, retail, and communities around them. They're building one in St. George right now, and I'm just really excited for someone to invest in that.
That sounds
to
innovative.
happen up here.
Hey, that sounds like a way to supercharge some of our communities. We'll come back over to you. I won't miss you. Go ahead, fire away.
Yeah, so my name is
Hit me with something hard. Hit me with something.
I got you. My name is Mike Noren. I have a company called Secrets, which is an AI companion to focus on elevating consciousness. And I admire you and your take on consciousness and the stewardship that you have. And so part of my question is like, what is your hot take on reality right now of what we know exists? And then you have a very empowered position in the world to be a spokesperson for change or elevating or understanding how reality works. And I'm curious how you cultivate more people and resources in pioneering a better world.
Good question. Welcome. A decade ago, I was a skeptic. I was very skeptical of any grand claims relative to psychic functioning and some of the more frontier topics relative to consciousness even. What I have seen using a data-driven approach is absolute evidence that we live in a divinely constructed, intelligently designed reality. I'm trying to figure out the rules of engagement relative to this reality that we're living in, and the power of focused intention to impact your physical environment. I know it's real. I've seen it real. The power that we all have to impact our physical environment, even our trajectories, in a way that would defy all logic, that is beyond synchronicity or coincidence, it's not only real, but it's something that I think we hopefully will better understand as we evolve as human beings and as society hopefully takes its next leap forward. I think having reverence for the power of consciousness and how much our attitude, how much our approach to life and the way we treat others, and even what many people refer to as karma, how that plays out, as crazy and superstitious as it may be, there is reality in energy. And the fact that we are energy and this is an energetic environment and what you put into it comes back. And it's interesting. I think that a lot of the answers relative to the purpose of life, where we came from, why we're here, where we're going, lies in understanding consciousness and the nature of consciousness and the rules of engagement relative to that. And I applaud what you're doing with engaging artificial intelligence to come up with answers and practical approaches to untap that. Did any of you get what I just was? I'm probably going to get, yeah, I sound very new agey, and I'm sorry. I really do take a data-driven, critical thinking approach to these topics. I went from being a skeptic to not a believer, but an experiencer relative to these topics. Hang on one sec. Shout at me.
How are you using your position to advance science and technology?
How am I using my position? Well, I've always considered my position not only in business, but some of these other frontier efforts as a stewardship. We don't really own anything. We're entrusted with opportunities. I look at my opportunities and my ownership, if you will, in a traditional sense as a stewardship, and I feel a responsibility to execute with wisdom as much as possible. We all make mistakes, but trying to have the right intention, pure intention behind what our execution strategy is a big part of that. And it's all about stewardship and shifting the view of, and looking at it from an abundance standpoint as opposed to scarcity.
Hi, I'm a good friend of Thomas Winterton.
My ranch manager.
Yes, and I believe in your show. And if you don't know who he is, he's a gentleman who wears a cowboy's hat.
Yeah, he's one of two guys that wears a cowboy hat.
Yes, and I learned his very scary story. He almost died, right? And so I'm here openly shaming him. No, it's a joke. So I also know his wife, and so Tom told me introduced me to Mr. Fugal, and I've been waiting, and I think he fell.
I'm so sorry.
So I'm gonna let the universe take over to my thoughts, and I appreciate your logic. I think we sync. So I really hope to give me a chance to meet with you for 30 minutes to an hour. I want to share a project with you for good cause. And I think with anybody who's interested, you will fit to be in this program, and we are going to change the world.
Cool. Let's shoot me an email. Next question.
Thank you.
Let's take this bud right back here, and then let's.
Promise. You've been waiting
Okay,
patiently.
let's do those
I
two,
don't
and then-
want
and then
you to
we
be
need to wrap
pissed.
up, so we only
I don't
have-
want this lady to be pissed at
We
me.
have two left, so we'll go for her and the gentleman in the back.
Where's her? Let's find
Right here, in the very front, and then the gentleman in the
You've
back.
been patient.
And then afterwards, you guys can come and talk to
And
Brandon
I'll try my
individually.
best. I promise I won't forget you.
Well, okay. Well, I'm Lisa Duckworth. I just, a couple of my friends and I, we just started the Silicon Slopes military chapter. So, woohoo!
Yay!
Yay.
Congrats.
Yes.
Aerospace, by the way, aerospace and defense is a major economic driver in Utah. In fact, Hill Air Force Base.
Yeah, I want to say Hill, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm an Army veteran myself, and so one thing you mentioned earlier, this is kind of a little more on the fun side that I didn't hear us explore, was you were talking about business influences, but you also said that you were influenced by a lot of pop culture, and I love pop culture, and so could you share more about that?
So what I mean by that, I'm a child of the '80s, so I was raised on a steady diet of Steven Spielberg, James Cameron, George Lucas, Ridley Scott. We're all products of our programming. So whether we acknowledge it or not, whether we admit it or not, we are products of that. And the lens by which we look and view the world and how we execute on our day-to-day activities and prioritization it's a result of what we've taken in and our influences. And my influences are Raiders of the Lost Ark, Goonies. So I'm kind of with Skinwalker Ranch, I'm kind of living that out a little bit because it's a real life, scientific-driven adventure made real that's in the same vein. But there is inspiration to be found through our storytellers. And the one thing I find, I mean, hundreds of years ago, it was Shakespeare. In the 1600s, Shakespeare was inspiring people. The King James Bible, making higher level thought available to the masses. The Gutenberg Bible, or not the Gutenberg Bible, but the press, the printing press, transforming our world. I think that we can find inspiration through a lot of our pop culture vision. And I would say, if you can think it, if you can imagine it, it can be real. Or it's already been made real. The second that someone imagines something is possible, you can rest assured that somewhere in the universe, it is being manifested and made real in a very physical, or at least our definition of physical sense.
Perfect. Last question in the very back, the gentleman in the white.
Great mustache, by the way. 1 minute.
I'll be very
Fire
brief. I'll be very brief. My name is Pimmy, and I know a few people here, including Cynthia. And I want to thank the Silicon Slopes for hosting these luncheons. They're just so educational. Contrary to my normal character, I'm going to be very brief. I live in Ground Zero, Draper, where all this development's going on. I agree with you about the prospects. But I worry that we've got limited resources. Traffic is really bad right now. I'm hearing all the time that, be conservative with water. I'm wondering where we're going to get the energy for these buildings and other technical facilities that are being constructed. And I'm sure that you would have something to say about that. And then one last comment. I want to thank you personally for answering two email messages of mine. I didn't expect it. At the time I was with the BYU Management Society, reaching out to you, and you're so kind and gracious. So thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. It's getting difficult because I get thousands of messages a day across all my platforms, and I don't trust an assistant to try to have the ability to discern what and prioritize what may be important to me and what may not be. So I'm trying to wrestle a monster right now. We have major issues and challenges that we have to confront and come up with solutions for in Utah. Transportation, oh my gosh. I put 40,000 some odd miles a year on my cars. And I spend hours of my day driving, zipping up and down the freeway system. And I will tell you, I don't know what happened the last 6 months. Have you guys noticed it? It's like gridlock. And sometimes it's like, I'm like, what? It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. What the heck is going on? We have major transportation issues we need to solve for. Infrastructure, water. I think our legislature, a lot of it, we really need to encourage our elected officials to come up with innovative approaches and execute on that in an entrepreneurial fashion. Because the answers, they're not easy. They're expensive. Mass transit, it's going to have to become play more of a role along the Wasatch Front. I would love to, I've been shouting this from the rooftops for a decade, and I feel like it still hasn't become a reality. Why we don't have light rail in Utah County connecting the whole Wasatch Front to match up and complement Front Runner or the high-speed commuter rail is beyond me. I know it's a question of dollars and cents, but no, it's a question of prioritization. And I'm pissed off that it hasn't been prioritized. And I don't think that rapid bus transit it's a great solution, but it's interim, it's a step. Mustache guy.
My name is Ivan Workman. I grew up originally in Southern California. I started an electric car company at the age of 19. I grew up in Diamond Bar, and Tesla hired all my people away. I had all the same suppliers they did. But I've learned a lot since then, and I've always been a transportation guy. I'm actually working on about 4 different interrelated startup businesses right now. One is actually a 400 mile per hour high-speed maglev transportation system using existing tech. And the idea is we can transport freight and vehicles and passengers from, let's say, Los Angeles or Seattle to Salt Lake City in basically about 2.5 hours or less, and cross country in 10 hours. If anybody's been keeping track of the latest information with freight railroads are the big money makers right now, well, this could be a lot more money and a lot less expensive. to maintain
Yeah,
and
shipping
operate.
logistics, I love what you're talking about because with our freeways being, a lot of the congestion, I'm swearing at huge trucks all day. The amount of freight that is being moved on our freeways as opposed to on rail.
Yeah.
What the heck? Anyways.
Maglev monorail system actually is what we're doing.
Okay.
And you also use the same thing for local and regional transportation. Currently in talks with using the medians of the interstate highway system with the Department of UDOT and with ports of inland ports, Utah inland ports as well, to work with them, and they love the idea of what we want to propose. They actually are proposing a innovation hub at their Salt Lake City facility. But the technology that we're developing can be used anywhere in the country. 95% would be built prefabricated off-site, so you have very little disruption of any type of construction.
Very cool. What's the question?
So the question
Ask
would be,
me anything.
with land use development being in the commercial side of things as well, when it comes to land development, obviously transportation is a major thing that a lot of people haven't really thought too much of too well, and it's the same thing when it comes to land use with parking. Well, there's a company I also deal with that also do automated vehicle parking systems for developments. And it's something maybe that developers should be looking at to use their land more, I guess.
Yeah, I think proper land use, to answer your question, I think that the answer to a lot of our challenges with infrastructure and with planning and with growth comes through proper urban planning and highest and best use approaches. If you're watching Elon Musk, one of his biggest bets, and he's bet the farm to a large degree on what? Autonomous, driverless vehicles. If you haven't studied up on it, go on ChatGPT, have them summarize it for you, or Grok. It's mind-blowing.
Oh yeah, that's just one piece of what we're doing.
And who knows? It's going to be crazy.
Thank you guys so much. We do have to wrap up. I apologize. So you guys can email him or grab him afterwards. But we appreciate Brandon coming. We appreciate all of you guys here and our sponsors for this event. So thank you guys so much.